In the previous video, I discussed my favorite tire and some of the other popular tires as well. Unfortunately, if you own a Brompton, you're not going to be able to place a Schwalbe Big Apple tire. In my opinion, the best tire out there for average all-around urban use on an existing Brompton frame. And in this video, what I'd like to do is to discuss another alternative you have that is not about rebuilding the frame or swapping out any of the extremities, but this is something you can do simply by changing the wheels. Nothing else needs to be done. You change the wheels, and you also have to change the brakes because the measurements are going to change overall. Let me explain. What you see here is a modified Brompton frame. This rear triangle is obviously not stock. Same is true of the fork in the front. Look at all the extras that you can get with a custom rear triangle that has a standard width. You can install a roll of hub. This custom triangle is capable of taking a disc brake, a hydraulic disc, and there is also even a belt drive added. But the subject for today's video is the tire, that it is capable of loading a 16 by 2 inch Schwalbe Big Apple tire. It is called 16 inches, but it is a 305 millimeter tire. There are the 349 millimeter tires that you get when you buy a Brompton. They are called 16, but they are really not 16. It's more like 16 and a quarter. In order to be able to mount true 305 millimeter 16 inch diameter tires, you would need a new wheel. And on this bike, in addition to the custom triangle and the custom fork in the front, the wheels had to be rebuilt as well. Obviously the hub is different. This is a different rim. This is a 305 rather than a 349. How could you load a tire like this onto your Brompton without having to go through all this, without having to upgrade the triangle and spend thousands? Now, just to remind you, if you click below and go to my shopping page, you can see the tires I recommend that do fit the Brompton, except for this one. This one would fit the Birdie, as you see here. It would fit any 20-inch wheel as well. The Molten, the Bike Friday, a number of good bikes that are out there could take it, not the Brompton. What the Brompton can take is really these three tires that are probably your best choices. The Schwalbe Marathon, if you want very good puncture resistance, or the Continental Urban, which is a very low resistance, very light tire, great for people who don't have electric support, who just want as low rolling resistance and as little weight as possible. If you want to go even more aggressive, then there is a Scorcher. The Scorcher is made by and for a trike company that builds racing trikes, and it has that weird 349 millimeter diameter, but actually it's a little bit wide. It's a 1.5 instead of the 1.35 you would get with these other two. Once you try it, you will immediately notice a significant difference, because it's not just the width of the tire that is increased, but the height as well. And so the air volume is significantly better. It's significantly more, even if jumping from 1.35 to 1.50 does not seem like all that much of a difference. It is a difference. If you can run a 1.5 tire, that's way better. It's going to be way more cushy, and it will give you better traction without increasing rolling resistance all that much. This is the only tire like that, unfortunately, that can be installed on the stock Brompton wheel. Now, what if you built a new wheel, sort of like what we have seen, sort of like this wheel, but you did not change the triangle? You would still have the narrow hub. You could keep your original hub. You would just need to replace the spokes and get a new rim of 305 size and have a professional wheel builder build your new wheel for you. You would have to do that anyway if you went through kinetics and upgraded the extremities. But this time around you would only need to get a new wheel or a new set of wheels and not need to rebuild the rest of the bike. If you go to Amazon, I recommend you go to the brand page rather than the page of a product. So this is the page that holds all Schwalbe products. And notice that I just typed in 16, and that's going to bring you up everything they have in that size. I can try 18, and that would be a different set of products. I could try 20, and once again that would be different. But searching for anything 16 inches in diameter, I actually did find several tires that could be installed. This is not a 16 by 2, which would be the Big Apple, and that is not going to fit in the standard triangle. But according to my measurements, the 1.75 will just barely fit if you remove the mud guards or use or make custom mud guards to accommodate the bigger size. Keep in mind that your new wheel is going to be smaller in diameter, so the tire's widest point, this point here, is going to come down a little bit, and the more it comes down, the more the fork and the triangle is going to widen. So it's going to be easier to fit something like 175. I have already run 1.5 on my unmodified Brompton, both the front and the rear. In fact, I have done some videos on the topic. I will put some links below, so check them out. And I know that 1.5 fit. I have never run the 1.75 because that would take a new wheel, but based on my measurements, it should be installable. Now, this is not a guarantee. If somebody does this, we would have to see if the installation works, but based on what my measurements tell me, I think it's going to work. You can see here that this is a 305. This is something you always have to verify when you're buying a 16-inch tire. Is it a 305 or is it a 349? So this is one tire that would give you a whole lot more width, a lot more air volume, and a lot more cushion as you ride. Very similar to the Marathon, really. It is really like, it is a Marathon, but it is wider. It's not available in 349. Here is another one. This is only a 1.5, but again, you can see here that this is a 305, so you could not buy this. You could not install this on the stock Brompton wheels. You need the custom setup for 305. But here is another option you have. This is not a Marathon, but looks maybe a little bit rougher than that. It's a bit more bumpy. The grooves are really deep. It's like really for rough weather, off-roading, but also urban commuting. You could use it. Now, I also went over to the brand page of the Continental, and I'm putting links below to all of these tires and pages. Check them out yourself. They all of the big manufacturers have a homepage on Amazon. And once again, I typed in 16. All of these tires come up. Clearly, these two would be a little too wide for a Brompton. It would not fit. But I did find several tires that would fit. Check this out. Here is a 16 by 1.75, and it doesn't state if this is a 305 millimeter, but I can almost guarantee that it is. You would have to go to the Continental website to verify it. But here you could get a 16 by 1.75, a pretty wide tire that is about very similar to the Marathon from Schwalbe. Maybe a little bumpier. Pretty rough, definitely good for urban commuting and touring as well. 1.75 wide. Here's another one, the same thing, 16 by 1.75, and you can see that it says it's a 305 diameter. But this is not as rough as the previous tire. You can see that the grooves are not as deep. So these could be excellent urban commuting tires that you can get in substantially wider form than the 1.35 most people run on their stock Bromptons. The difference between 0.35 and 0.75 is almost a half inch. It is a considerable difference. And I found yet another one, also very bumpy, also a Continental tire. And they keep on coming, 16 by 1.75. If you upgrade the wheels, the rims, a whole world of totally different, much wider, much more comfortable tires open up. The one thing to notice is that if you upgrade the wheel, now your rims are going to be farther away from the attachment of the brake. So you're going to have to get new brakes. Either you get, actually you could even use the stock brake, but one option is to get new brakes that have a longer reach. This would have to be measured. I'm just showing you an example. I'm not even going to link this one. It's not necessarily recommended. It's just there are all kinds of brakes of various sizes that you can get. Some of them are way longer reach than the stock Brompton. Increasing the distance between the brake attachment, this point, and the rim is not necessarily a death sentence. You can buy different grip brakes that have a longer reach, and you can even reuse the brakes that you do have. And here is one example on the Brompton. There are adapters. This is where stock brake would normally be attached, and this adapter brings down that hole by roughly a half an inch. And people typically use this, Brompton owners typically use this to run normal stock sized racing brakes like Campagnolo and various carbon fiber brakes, which is what you see over here. And these adapters are really not a lot of money. I'm looking at AliExpress here. For only 22 bucks you can get one. You can get, in fact, this is a pair of adapters, one for the front, one for the rear. And they come in different shapes and colors. You can get them in silver or in black. And it's really like not a lot of money, or some of them are more than the others. This one is a $50 pair. And the shapes are a bit different as well. So you need to take measurements, but you definitely can adapt the brake position to the new rim. If you have a 305 millimeter rim as opposed to 349. If anybody has installed any of this 305 millimeter rim, I would love to hear about it, and please post your comments below. Also make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next video.
I'll be back.